Now, in our very first story, the Interior Ministry has imposed a curfew on Chereponi and Saboba townships in the northern region following the renewal of communal clashes between Konkombas and Chokosis. Several homes in 3 communities have been burned down, with 3 persons sustaining gunshot wounds. Now, the imposition of the curfew comes as the residents call for increased security following the escalation of the clashes. Here is a youth leader of the Chokosi community, Amidu Muniru.
There are about 5 villages that have been burned. People have died. What we want is that it's one peace. We are calling on the Minister of Defense, the regional minister, and all the regional and district security council to come to the area and calm down situations. The Benda Bruno, the Benda Duni, and all others. That is when it started again. And since then, they are still moving towards Chereponi. They have targeted some villages, almost at the village, because the Achuma we are talking about is just a few meters into Tekasu. And from Tekasu, they are moving into Chereponi. That is not what we want.
But have you guys cooperated with the security services to ensure that this thing is resolved once and for all?
Yes, I would say yes, because even the security personnel who come, we receive them in Chereponi, we feed them, we give them shelter in Chereponi before they move towards the crime scene. So yes, we have cooperated with them. If you say soldiers were sent from Accra, we are not aware of that. What we are aware of is the soldiers that went yesterday in a helicopter, numbering 30 that I said earlier. But as at now, whoever says the place is calm or they have sent security personnel, we have not heard or seen any of them there yet. We want the government of Ghana to come to our aid. They should help us. They should bring securities. These securities, the personnel that the MP is talking about, we've not heard of them, we've not seen them. The fight is still ongoing.
Member of Parliament for Chereponi, Samuel Jabanyete, says a fact-finding team led by RECSEC on Thursday found out that a 3rd community being inhabited by hundreds of people has also been burned down. He describes the situation as pathetic.
The situation is died now because the 3rd community has been burned today, and this community is called Asari. This is a community that is over maybe 1,500 people.
And these 1,500 people, where are they now?
We can't find anybody. We just arrived where the structure has been set ablaze. So the military went to the school building, and we found an old man with a broken arm and in the building, almost half bent. So he has been rescued, and the police vehicle is taken into the hospital. But we are still here in the village now with the Brigadier General of the General Staff Command of the Tamale military, and then the regional police commander is also here with other policemen and then the military.
Do you know how many communities have been burnt down so far?
Today alone, 3 communities, and these are big communities.
Do you know whether anyone is dead so far as a result of these clashes?
We haven't found any right now, but the men are still in the bush. The military.
We are picking report that it's likely that they will impose curfew on the...
Yes, it has been approved. The curfew is approved now, and it's starting from 4 p.m. this morning to 7 a.m.
And so yes, now we know that that curfew has indeed been imposed in the area, and we have a copy of the Interior Minister's release on the curfew. It says the Minister for the Interior has, on the advice of the Northern Regional Security Council and by executive instrument, imposed a 4 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew on Chereponi and Saboba townships and their environs, effective Thursday, January 3, 2019. The imposition of the curfew follows the outbreak of violence in the towns arising from clashes between 2 ethnic groups, Konkombas and Chokosis. Government continues to urge chiefs, elders, opinion leaders, youth, and people of the area to exercise restraint in the face of the challenges confronting them, as well as to use non-violent means to channel their energies into ensuring peace in the area. Meanwhile, there is a total ban on all persons in the aforementioned communities and its environs from carrying arms, ammunition, or any offensive weapon, and any persons found with any arms or ammunition will be arrested and prosecuted. And this is signed by the Interior Minister for the Interior, Ambrose Derry. Let's get on to the phone lines now and speak with the Northern Regional Minister Salifu Said for the very latest. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, you have visited the grounds today. What did you find?
Hello.
Yes, good evening to you. I'm asking, you have visited the grounds, and what did you find?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks to your cherished listeners. It's unfortunate that as we have just been ushered into the new year, in our region we have been greeted with this unacceptable violent confrontation. We didn't just even waste time. We had to deploy security yesterday to reinforce the men on the ground. But after the situation was contained yesterday, early this dawn, we picked signals that 2 communities were attacked and burned down. And immediately we had to, as RESEC, we quickly mobilized the troops again and release a helicopter to move to where the troops were advancing from, between that of the Saboba towards the Tempane side. Even by the time that the heli got onto the ground, there had been another third place in which almost everybody flew out of the town. There was an old lady that was left when RESEC landed, and the old lady was picked up. But what I just want to say is that one of the measures that we put in place, because we have scattered settlement patterns in northern region, is not regulated. So the security, because of the inaccessible areas of some of the small villages and communities, the security cannot be everywhere. So we had to recommend this curfew that takes off from 4 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, given the fact that the people mobilize themselves, they plan under the cover of darkness, and by dawn they start embarking on this attack. And this measure, when it is enforced, that from this evening, 2 days, if they don't get the opportunity to plan under the cover of darkness, they may not be able to pass, and we use this opportunity to get to the key stakeholders from these 2 ethnic communities, that is the Konongo and that as well as the Chapati, to appeal to their people not to use this violent approach to be able to address the problem. But the security, together with RESEC, we are working around. We are already calling all the key people, be it politicians, chiefs, opinion leaders, to come together so that we identify the influential people to be able to calm down everybody, so that this unacceptable action will be.
Now, have any arrests at all been made?
Yeah, first of all, we want a situation like this degenerate to a violent confrontation and they are burning. We need to first of all save life and property and contain the situation. That is the measure that the RESEC has put in place. So now that the situation has been contained, beyond that, the perpetrators can now be looked for, unless the people who if there is in that event that they are picked directly on the scene or in the action. So, but in this situation, they position themselves in the bush and shooting from afar. So, but the security are working around so that they can pick up some of these perpetrators.
All right, thank you very much. We have been speaking with the Northern Regional Minister Salifu Said. Now, the reinstated headmaster of the Tempane Senior High School in the Upper East Region says improved security is among measures instituted to avert recurrence of the events that led to his suspension. More staff and security will be deployed when school reopens to monitor students and also ward off intruders after the infamous Joshua Akamba interaction with students of the school. It tells JoyNews' Mahmoud Muhammad Nuruddin he has learned his lessons from what happened.
This is the very spot where Joshua Akamba interacted with a student. It's just about 5 steps away from the main road. Headmaster of the Tempane Senior High School, Dominic Indego Amulale, says there is a need to complete the school's fence wall. He believes once that is done, the main road which leads to the school would eventually be diverted.
The fence wall, as you have seen it, is 20% complete. And if the fence wall is completed, I think the route, the diversion of the route will be possible. So we will also appeal to stakeholders for the completion of the fence wall.
But there's more reason to ensure the school is secure.
This school has a student population of 2015 with only 3 watchmen. And these watchmen are night watchmen. They are all night watchmen because of the size of the compound. So we don't actually have day watchmen. So I'll also appeal to my directors. I'll write letters to the appropriate quarters for us to have the number of watchmen increase to at least 6, so that we'll have 3 in the night and 3 for day.
Mr. Amolale also shared lessons he learned from the incident and why he thinks the students need to be counseled.
It's a lesson because it has informed me that our talks to students on how to receive visitors and strangers did not go down well. So that is a lesson. I will task my guidance and counseling officers to sensitize students on the contribution of stakeholders of education. In addition to that, we will buttress our talks on how to receive visitors or strangers on campus.
The school has more infrastructural challenges.
The dining hall. We have a makeshift dining hall over there. That takes 2,015 students. And because of that, they go in batches. And let me tell you how this thing happened. Like I said, the students, they go to the dining hall in batches. The first batch went inside. What normally happens is when the first batch goes inside, then the second and third batch will wait for the first batch to finish and they'll go. So the day this thing happened, whilst the students were waiting outside for the first batch to finish and they will enter, it started drizzling. And they had to run back to their dormitories. So it was when they ran back to the dormitory and they were standing there, which is very close to the road linking Garu and Yanga, then the Kamba came and saw them and stopped.
Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin's report for JoyNews.
You're watching JoyNews Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. Police hold one suspect in connection with Wednesday's attack on the Glorious Word Power Ministry.
Voluntarily, one of them this afternoon reported to the police, and presently he's assisting police in investigation.
We'll hear the views of some Christian leaders regarding the so-called prophecies, and also hear from the lone security man who had to flee his post when the attackers stormed the church.
Small time, the time I'm a child, I'm a sport man. I play football and I run. But one thing with the God's grace. God's grace, that's why.
Sixteen oil firms, including China National Oil Corporation and Tullow Oil Ghana Limited, have been shortlisted for oil blocks being auctioned by Ghana in the maiden oil and gas licensing round. The 16 were among several who put in bids for 5 of 6 blocks that are up for grabs. Energy Minister John Peter Amewu made the announcement at a news conference Thursday afternoon. Latif Idris has more.
This follows months of scrutiny by a licensing round bid evaluation and negotiation committee set up by the Energy Ministry in 2018 to analyze the capacity of the companies that expressed interest. 2 of the blocks have been reserved for direct negotiation, and the Minister and Chief Director at the Energy Ministry explained.
Why direct negotiation? That is from the law. The law says that we should do competitive bidding. The minister has the power to do direct negotiations, and where conditions are right for direct negotiations, we can do that. So we are within the law. But the reason why specific blocks have been reserved is the fact that there are challenging conditions surrounding those blocks. So we want to be able to filter those companies that are of high caliber, that are of world-class experience, that can go into those terrains that are very, very difficult for ordinary companies to go. That is the reason for that.
Thank you very much. The Licensing Round Evaluation and Negotiation Committee sent out invitations for expression of interest and pre-qualifications in October 2018 for 5 blocks. These blocks are block 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 3 blocks on tender, and 2 out of these other blocks goes for direct negotiation. The first block, ladies and gentlemen, is reserved for GMPC, which we call block number 1. The blocks expected to be awarded to successful bidders in August 2019. On 21st of December 2018, the applications were opened by the Honorable Deputy Minister for Energy in charge of Petroleum, Dr. Mohammed Amin, and in the presence of some staffs of the Ministry, the Petroleum Commissions, and the Ghana Oil and Gas for Inclusive Growth. In summary, I'm happy to announce that 60 applications were received from 16 companies. 58 applications were valid. Out of this, 74%, equivalent to 43, were interested in competitive bidding, and 26%, amounting to 15, were interested for direct negotiation.
Block 1 is, however, reserved for Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC.
The National Democratic Congress has expressed disappointment over what it says was the abysmal and fraudulent conduct of the recent plebiscite by the Electoral Commission. According to the party, there is evidence that officers deployed to oversee the process engaged in malpractices which the Commission has failed to address. At a media briefing Thursday, Deputy General Secretary Peter Otokuno said the chairperson of the Commission, Jean Mensah, simply failed her first task. Here's Joshua Smith's report.
Deputy General Secretary Peter Otokuno says the polls were appalling and deceitful and clearly shows a great danger for the future of Ghana as the 2020 elections approach.
The abysmal and fraudulent conduct of the referenda clearly vindicates our position. This represents a clear and a present danger for the future of this country, especially as the 2020 polls and elections approach. The non-partisan nature of the referenda and the convergence of interest in the creation of the regions may have limited and tempered the response of various stakeholders to the manipulation and the fraud by the EC officials.
He added that the EC chairperson does not consider herself an occupant of an independent office, but openly flaunts her ties with the New Patriotic Party appointees in a manner she would not with the opposition NDC.
As EC chair, she has not found it necessary to shed the partisan gap and consider herself the occupant of an independent office. Instead, Jean Mensah openly flaunts her ties with the MPP appointees in a manner she will never do with the NDC officials. We wish to serve notice to Jean Mensah and her lieutenants, especially Dr. Bosman Asare at the Electoral Commission, that the National Democratic Congress will not accept any new electoral register compiled based on the Ghana card, which excludes voter ID cards as a means of identification or registration. If EC chair once again sees herself as an MPP appointee and feels obliged to act in accordance with the president's wishes, she would bear the full responsibility for any consequences thereof. Sure.
Peter Otokuno added that the National Identification Authority has failed to heed calls from segments of society to include the voter's ID card in the list of identification in the national registration exercise.
The Ghana card and the new voters register. The National Identification Authority has failed to heed calls from well-meaning segments of society to include the voter ID card in the list of identification materials for registration in the national registration exercise. Here too, President Akufo-Addo has shown his hands as the driving force behind the move by robustly defending the unreasonable decision of the Ken Atefa-led NIA not to accept voter ID cards as a means of registration. Yet, the same ID cards qualified voters to vote in the just-ended referenda they called.
The NDC believes video footages showed multiple voting by the Electoral Commission officials and others recruited for that purpose. Joshua Smith's report for JoyNews.
Staying with the NDC, the party has constituted 3 different committees to supervise the conduct of the upcoming presidential primary scheduled for January 26 this year. The committees are to vet and approve the serving aspirants seeking to lead the party into the 2020 general election. You may recall that some members of the party secured an ex-parte injunction to halt the process, challenging the rules and guidelines for the conduct of the election and the controversial filing fees. But Deputy General Secretary of the party, Peter Otukuno, explains that the time period for the injunction has elapsed, thus having the clout to resume the process.
The injunction was an ex-parte one. We discussed that with our legal team. They advised that since the injunction was to last a time period of 10 days, we should allow for the time to elapse. Then they would guide us as to the way forward. And we have met here to resume the process whilst we wait for the hearing of the ex-parte case on the 14th of this month. So we are here to inaugurate the committees, the 3 committees as prescribed in the guidelines or the regulations that were approved by the National Executive Committee for the conduct of these elections. And the committees are the Vetting Committee, the Appeals Committee, and the Electoral Committee. The Vetting Committee is supposed to conduct the vetting of the aspirants and determine their qualification or otherwise. Then when that is done, and we have some aspirants who feel aggrieved, perhaps maybe because the decision that has been made by the vetting committee did not go down well with them, they would have the opportunity to appeal at the appeals committee, who would take turns to sit on their matter and determine their qualification or otherwise.
Mr. Tukono also spoke highly of the members of the respective committees.
In the selection process for these committee members, before the approval of NEC, extensive consultation was done with all aspirants. As you may be aware, this is a very important election, and we have assured all aspirants that as much as possible, we are going to provide a level playing field for all aspirants so that at the end of the day, the true will of the electorates of our party would prevail. So as part of the transparency that we seek to bring on board in this process, we consulted all the aspirants on all the names that we are going to mention today. And they made their observations on some of them, and we discussed that further at National Executive Committee level, and these final names were approved by the National Executive Committee. So that is how we came by these names. But for just by way of information, as part of our efforts to make this election as transparent as possible, we have advised the aspirants also to, as a matter of importance, when we start the process of printing ballot papers, to bring their representatives to follow the process keenly.
We're taking a break to bring you business news, but still ahead in the bulletin. Police hold one suspect in connection with Wednesday's attack on the Glorious Word Power Ministry. We'll hear the views of some Christian leaders regarding the so-called prophecies, and also hear from the lone security man who had to flee his post when the attackers stormed the church. Stay tuned, we're back with business. The police is holding one suspect in connection with Wednesday's attack on the premises of the Glorious Word Power Church over claims made by its leader and founder, Reverend Owusu Bempah. The preacher had, in a sermon on New Year's Eve, mentioned a number of prominent individuals he says may die in the course of this year. A group which says it was outraged at the mention of the National Chief Imam as one of those who may not live beyond 2019 subsequently attacked the church premises. Accra Region Police Public Relations Officer DSP Efia Tenge says the suspect turned himself in and is assisting to bring the attackers to book.
This morning, the regional commander visited the scene to have a first-hand knowledge of the extent of damage. Based on that, he made an appeal to the public, calling on the members of the SAC to report to the police. And voluntarily, one of them this afternoon reported to the police. And presently, he is assisting police in investigation. It is also our hope that the others who were involved in this vandalism will equally also report to the police to assist in further investigation.
The Office of the National Chief Imam has already urged restraint amongst the Muslim faithful. It has nonetheless faulted the man of God for making public the death predictions of the Islamic cleric. Alhaji Kuzaima Muhammad Osman is personal assistant to Sheikh Osman Nuhu Sharagutu.
Prophecies should be directed at the persons that are involved. For instance, if this man of God, could have sought the Chief Imam's attention and said, this is what I have seen. The Chief Imam never rejects anybody at his house. As more importantly, a man of God, somebody who claims to be a man of God, he never rejects you, and he will have. Sometimes we don't even take part in the discussion. And so I believe if that had happened, perhaps it would have been better. And we want to. I've heard the video and I've heard his respondent as well. It's a word of advice to them that not only to the Chief Imam, we are not perturbed by this. Let me say it again. He could say whatever he wants to say.
Now, there have been many reactions since the attack on the church premises. Whilst many have condemned the attack, some prominent Christian leaders have equally condemned the public announcement of doom prophecies. Former Christian Council General Secretary Reverend Dr. Kwabna Opuni-Frimpong says such claims have the potential to ruin the relationship between the church and public officials. Meanwhile, resident pastor of the ICGC Open Heavens Temple, Prophet Eric Hehemeku, is of the view prophecies should be communicated directly to those affected and the necessary prayer activations done to avert their calamities. He spoke on the Super Morning Show, on Joy FM Super Morning Show.
That we should pray, which is the right thing to do. I want to stand in the middle way of the scriptures where anytime God wanted to speak to people in high authority, the prophet goes to them personally and tells them that this is what the Lord has said. Like in the case of Hezekiah, God sent Isaiah to Hezekiah's house and spoke to him that you're going to die, put your house in order. But as Isaiah was getting out of the court of Hezekiah, God changed his mind about it because Hezekiah prayed. Prophecy comes that we may pray. We may pray about it and not to react like the people have reacted. As a prophet, maybe he could also organize people to pray privately for him. But coming to public sometimes has its challenges.
The attack on Reverend Owusu Bempah's church was captured on mobile phone videos which have been widely circulated on social media. In one of these videos, a man is seen fleeing the rampaging youth at great speed with just a piece of cloth around his waist. Well, now we know the man fleeing the scene is 62-year-old Robert Misinu, the security man at the church premises. He has been speaking with JoyNews' Maxwell Agbagba about his ordeal and how he managed to pull off that dash, considering his age.
I touch my waist with a cloth, want to bath. But that time I kill Ford and we cook palm fufu to eat. I stay and I see that people was coming. But I locked this gate and this one. So I saw that the person ruled the wall. Come inside, come and open before the people come inside. After that, immediately they are slapping me, everything, spoil my everything.
They slapped you?
Yes, they slapped me and beat me everywhere. Now all my body is paying me. My head is paying me too. Oh, almost 62 years, going to 63 years.
So how did you get the energy to run? We saw in the video.
Man, small time, the time I'm a child, I'm a sport man. I play football and I run. But one thing with the God's grace. God's grace. That's why. Not man.
So you think it was God who gave you the energy and the power?
It be God. It be God.
To run away like you did?
Yes, yeah, it be God. I was not feeling well. I'm talking, but I don't feel well. And I'm not happy in my life. Because yesterday the thing happened, if God never gave me that mind and I ran away, they can feel kill me. Yes, because that very good day there for a grand there, behind the guy hole before I opened the gate. So I know that the God who helped me, I ran that right.
But did they beat you? You saying they beat you?
Yeah, they beat me.
Apart from the slap, what else did they do to you?
Oh, they slapped me, beat me, everything. That's why I saw that if that take time, they will kill me. So God gave me some small idea and I get chance and I run away, go.
Wow. So are you still feeling the pains?
Yes, I'm feeling the pains. I still feel the pains. Don't see if you see me, I'm shaking and I sit down for the years. Because if I don't take time, I'll fall down. If you cry yesterday, be God, like I will collapse.
Meanwhile, a video has emerged of a gentleman or a group of young men claiming responsibility for the attack and threatening further attack unless Reverend Owusu Bempah apologizes.
Osoko Owusu Bempah as you have been warning, Yama 24 hours, Bomodiana Bra. Napie live videos to never patch up. Napa Islam kwacho. One say minimum kwala ne ko ade ayere ma wo. Very small. Ade a wo ebe pai church no very small. O pass the ade na say ya shikina. Adia who you kwasi adia who you debia who must make prophecy san kwasi adia no kwatina ho udi ban yen kremofo su anase udi ba chief imam su wallahi who be do ma betwe wallahi adia yen ma wo very small pastor Owusu Bempah this.
We're moving on to other stories now. The Auditor General's department recovered to the state more than 67 million cedis from various surcharge certificates issued to individuals and organizations. In June 2017, the Supreme Court granted all the relief sought by pressure group Occupy Ghana in respect of the Auditor General's powers of disallowance and surcharges. The Apex Court directed the Auditor General to issue disallowance and surcharges in respect of all state monies found to have been expended contrary to law. The second relief granted by the court is that the Auditor General must take steps to recover all amounts lost to the state, and this covers private persons. In a press release signed by the Acting Public Relations Officer of the Audit Service, Bernard Kondua, the service revealed that between June 14, 2017 to November 30, 2018, it issued 112 surcharge certificates to individuals and organizations and recovered a total of over 67 million cedis to government chest. The press statement released on Thursday, January 3, further urged stakeholders and the general public that can access copies of a report it has submitted to Parliament on the progress made by the Ghana Audit Service on disallowance and surcharge from the website of the Ghana Audit Service. The Ministry of Education says all is set for contractors to start work for the expansion and upgrading of technical and vocational institutions across the country. Deputy Minister of Education in charge of the TVET sector, Barbara Asha AEC, says the action by government forms part of a 5-year strategic plan for the sector. The Deputy Minister was speaking at a news conference in Cape Coast. Richard Krunyako has more.
5-year strategic plan for the TVET sector by government, the Ministry of Education says contractors have been sorted out to begin construction in the various TVET institutions across the country. This, according to them, is to transform the sector and make it more appealing for many to venture into. Deputy Minister of Education in charge of TVET, Barbara Ashaisi, is confident 2019 will see a lot of actions and work in the TVET sector.
We have a 5-year strategic plan, and per our 5-year strategic plan, from now to the next 5 years, we wish to transform TVET. That is why His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, has prioritized technical and vocational education in this country. And currently, I have been assigned purposely to ensuring that indeed we upgrade or we revamp TVET in our country. So 2018 has been good, and looking forward to 2019, where we would start rolling out our policies, where the contractors will go on site, would go to the various campuses to start work in upgrading all our technical institutions.
The Cape Coast North Member of Parliament says the informal sector will be the ultimate winner in government's drive for the transformation of the sector. As a result, a loan scheme has been instituted to support women in Cape Coast who are into petty trading with some startup capital to support their income generation activities, while many have also been assisted to undergo apprenticeship for free and given startup capitals to start their entrepreneurial journeys. The loan scheme is a revolving fund where young women are given capital to start businesses of their own in order to make a living.
Barbara Asha loan scheme. This is nothing big, but something small to support our women who are doing petty training. And so far, so good. They've started, giving out the monies, starting from community to communities, and gradually would, get to every community. And it's going very well.
Richard Kwejenyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
A 68-year-old woman is battling with strange conditions of her 3 adult children who suddenly lost the ability to walk in their prime age. Akosia Pokia and the children between 18 and 32 are on the verge of being thrown out of the present accommodation in a string of eviction over the past 5 years. The task of single-handedly feeding them has become a huge challenge for the jobless old woman. Our firm's Rasso Sasara Donko visited them at their home at Konongo, Bumriso in the Ashanti region, from where he filed this report.
Enoch, Hannah, and Eunice Tempane were born normal, able-bodied children until 5 years ago, when each one of them started noticing they could no longer use their legs. They can barely leave the confines of this partially completed single bedroom. The best they can do is to drag themselves on these wooden stools to sit out here on the veranda for warmth.
To me, it's a German and prairie. Never menyamo, and I'm a saquano, I bet that mean anything. If it's a milk operation, if it's a brand permanent, mean to me, and Auntie a best about 5 years. And I mean permanent.
I was working all right, but when I got to Form 3, and I woke up one day morning, I couldn't even stand up.
The male and youngest of them has a passion for electronics. Enoch tells me he could do something for himself if he had a wheelchair to be able to move around.
I want to be electronics repairer.
You can do it.
Yeah, I can do it.
Under the circumstance, Madame Pokia is compelled to bath them, empty their chamber pots, and take care of their feeding on a daily basis. Her age is, however, taking a toll on her ability to effectively discharge these responsibilities.
if you see Bessie, and go to gentleman, and I am ya. And you could have I am VC, me could William say, the papa, Baba, you know, Uncle Pocran and one man could take our also. We do them way to me who baby as an army for some for some color, no money. Just a minute be a near a Michelle woman.
Again, I will hear some, I don't for him.
Oh, dear me here, they say coming your baby tonight. Na face minyasi kaka kraso so aka me dada ho me de hwe wo chese me ni hwefo bia wo ba bia na yedi.
Madam Pokia wishes for help to pay her rent and seek medical help for her children before death lays its hands on her. Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaredonko.
And that'll be it for the bulletin for tonight. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.
This is JoyNews Prime.